Welcome to Bharata First. I'm Frank Rausen Pereira. That was a good sip of coffee. We are at the Bharat Bodh Kendra at the India Habitat Center, and I have with me today a very special guest to whom the Bharat Bodh Kendra is a baby, so to speak. He is the director of the India Habitat Center in New Delhi. Professor and Dr. KG Suresh, welcome and thank you for
Thank
being
you so
here on
much,
Bharata
Frank.
First.
It's again a pleasure to be back with you after a long time.
Absolutely. So, our friendship goes back many years, and it's good to be sharing the screen space once again with this gentleman here. So, Professor, lovely to have you here on Bharata First on my platform for a change and not somebody
The
else's.
pleasure is entirely mine.
So, let's start. We are sitting in this beautiful space, the Bharat Bodh, Kendra, and this is something that is very close to your heart. Tell us, how was it all conceptualized? What went into the making of it, and what is it really?
Frank, I've always felt that maybe it was a fault with our education system, or maybe it was not considered important enough. The awareness about one's own country was really lacking. And I have no hesitation in admitting that while there have been occasional efforts here and there, it is the National Education Policy 2020 which actually triggered this thought process across the country that we should be teaching our children and we should be teaching ourselves about this country, its civilization, its culture, its heritage, its religion, its philosophy, its art, its crafts, its architecture, its cuisine, its landscapes, its history. But not much effort was made. History was there as part of the curricula, and that too, there were a lot of controversies surrounding it. But the sense of pride in one's culture, because at the end of the day, one question that comes to our mind is, who am I? What do I represent? What are my value systems as a citizen of this country? What are the objectives of my life as an individual, as an Indian? Or is it that I'm just leading another individualistic, materialistic life? Or am I different? Am I different only in looks? Am I different only in color? Or am I also different in thought process, in philosophy, in my way of life? So that awareness. So the beautiful Sanskrit word for that is bodh. That awareness. So to know about your own country, what is Bharata? That is important. So the Indian knowledge system was institutionalized under the NEP. And now it is being taught across the country. It is being made part of curriculum of many of our courses. And it is not a standalone thing. It is being taught as part and parcel of different courses. As I said earlier, also attempts were made. Even when I was the Director General at Indian Institute of Mass Communication, I started teaching Indian communication models. There also I felt that in our curriculum, it was very heavy when it came to Western communication theories, Western communication models. But there was no reference to Indian communication models at all, or Indian communication theories. But we have such a rich, and prosperous communication culture, communication tradition in this country. I mean, the entire Bhagavad Gita is a conversation, a dialogue between Krishna and it's question and answer between Krishna and Arjuna. You have the parampara of Shastrarth in this country, where you have Adi Shankaracharya himself and Mandana Mishra, getting into that debate. You have the Yama and Nachiketa conversation, the Yaksha and Yudhishthira conversation. You name it. But how many people are aware? We know about the Western theories, but we don't know about our own country, our own rich traditions. The superficial understanding was about one Narada here, one Sanjaya there. But beyond that, the philosophical undertones, the underpinnings, that was never taught. I'm just giving you an example of communication.
Absolutely. And since we are here, Professor, I mean, just to build on that, build on what you just said. Everyone seems to know the story of Noah's Ark, for instance. But how many of them know the story of the Matsya Avatar? And how many of them actually speak about it?
Yes, that's it. And even for that matter, it is evolution. Matsya, Kurma, what are the Dashavataras? It is actually an evolution of how we started, and it is in sync with science also. Now, from Narasimha, which is half animal, half human, to the, Krishna and Ram and, Kalki, that is the final. So, this is an evolution of how human beings have evolved over the years, Now, what is important is that I'm the first academician to become the director of India Habitat Center. Earlier, it was mostly civil servants who would come. I felt that as India's leading cultural and intellectual center, I should not confine my job to that of an administrator. How can I bring in academic inputs to this organization? And we had only two intellectual, otherwise we run, our hotels, our banquets and our restaurants, our hospitality business, so to say. But the intellectual part is two. One, the library, the Habitat Learning and Research Center, HLRC. And the other one is Habitat Learning Center, where we impart training to students from weaker backgrounds. So I felt that library is the place where India's top intellectuals come. And it is very important that our members, who are virtually the who is who of Delhi, they include politicians, artists, intellectuals, officers, different classes, yet a common pursuit for knowledge that brings them here. How to open a window towards Indian culture and civilization. That was my idea, that let us have Bharat Bodh Kendra as a segment within the library, wherein anybody who wishes to go deep into, they are all eminent people, they all have a fair idea about Indian culture and civilization. But if you want to go deep into it, here is a provision, a space where you can go deep. But I did not confine myself to that idea. I felt that we should go beyond this. Bharat Bodh Kendra, that is why it was not called Bharat Bodh Kaksh. That would have meant that it is just a library space. It has a rule beyond it. And that is that to have intellectual engagements with both the members and the intellectuals beyond IHC membership.
And how is that done,
And
Professor?
that is through seminars, book discussions, workshops. And we have already started. While this Kendra was inaugurated, launched by the Union Housing and Urban Affairs Minister, Shri Manohar Lal ji. And we have received very positive feedback. Then we started off with a new series called Samlapa. Samlapa in Sanskrit means dialogue or discourse.
Yes.
And we started with a book discussion on Odissi, on therapeutics, aesthetics, to understand Odissi as a classical dance form. So it was not, earlier we used to have Odissi performance at the Stein Auditorium, but a discussion on Odissi, that was rare. So under Bharat Bodh Kendra, it is not enough to watch an Odissi performance. It is also important to understand the aesthetics and therapeutics behind that. So there was this session. Bharat Bodh organized a workshop on Natya Shastra. Natya Shastra is the basis for all Indian classical dances.
Yes.
In fact, not just dances. I think the entire art form have been tremendously influenced by Natya Shastra. So, a workshop on Natya Shastra with eminent people, including young artists, to a select group of people, teachers, media educators, they came here to attend it. You had somebody like Professor Bharat Gupta who is the vice chairman of the National School of Drama, he spoke at length about. He made it so simple. The other scholars like Rajni Rao came. They all spoke about it. Then we decided that Bharat Bodh Kendra should promote yoga. So for the first time in our 3 decades history, we had a massive International Yoga Day celebration here. And it was led by none other than our president, who is the Secretary Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. He himself led the people in conducting the yoga. And not only that, we are starting 2 more segments wherein one is that we live in the city of Delhi, and this is the hub of Delhi, the cultural hub of Delhi. How do you know Delhi? What do you know about Delhi? Let us have a common space for people to come and understand Delhi. So the entire, almost every book under, the sun, we are trying to procure for a segment called Delhi Documenta, where people can come and know about their city, its art, its aesthetics, its landscape, its architecture, its history, from Indraprasth to the modern Delhi, to the central vista.
Absolutely. It's very important because, our history so far in the books and what we have learned is Delhi-centric, but more so Mughal and British-centric.
Absolutely.
So we need to go beyond that as well and try to incorporate and bring into the
Absolutely.
picture.
The legends
like
around Delhi,
yes, absolutely.
all those things used to be. Then we also felt that we should have a series of festivals. So we have launched Utsav. Utsav is a series of festivals aimed at promoting Indian cuisine, and that too from different regions of the country. Now this is in consonance with Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat, where we are promoting different regions, different delicacies. So the first in the series was the Onam.
Wonderful.
So it was a huge success. We received a very positive feedback from our. So now we are going to have Navratras. So we are going to have Navratra Thalis and all that as part of. We are going to in the coming days celebrate Pongal, Ugadi, and Baisakhi, Bihu, festivals from the northeast of India, festivals from the north of India, from the west of India. All these festivals are going to be celebrated. So that is also promoting Indian culture.
Absolutely, it is. It is.
Then, this apart, how can you promote Indian culture without talking about our languages? So for the first time in our institution's history, we have set up the Rajbhasha Kriyanvayan Samiti. We will start with Hindi.
Right.
Because that is the official language.
Yes.
And for the first time, we are having the Rajbhasha Hindi Pakshotsav. Pakshotsav is Pakhwada. That means a fortnight of celebrating. So what we have done is that we have organized a poster making competition.
Right.
For all our students of HLC, the Habitat Learning Center. The second is a poetry writing competition for all our staff members. Then there would be a book exhibition, Hindi book exhibition. Once, because we started it, like I said, that we started with Onam. That doesn't mean it would be only Kerala and Onam and Malayalam all through. No. We will shift to others. Similarly, we started with Rajbhasha Pakhwada. But we will be talking about other languages. We will be having books in Tamil. We will be having books in Bangla. We will be having books in Marathi. As many languages, all the official languages. But we will also see how many takers are there. Accordingly, we want to introduce our library users to this unique experience.
Absolutely.
So far, Habitat Library was mostly, providing English books. We were not, providing books in our own languages. An occasional effort was made, but there was no concerted effort. But this under Bharat Bodh Kendra, Rajbhasha Vibhag, Kriyanvayan Samiti. We are going to have this. So it's a whole lot of activities under Bharat Bodh that is being conceived, and almost our idea is that one more project that we are working on is a series of lectures on different aspects of Indian philosophy. This will be done in collaboration with, like the workshop was done in collaboration with the Indian Communication Congress. This will be done in collaboration with the Indian Council for Philosophical Research, ICPR. So every month we are planning to have one session on one aspect of Bharatiya Darshan or Indian philosophy. That is how we plan to proceed.
Wonderful, wonderful. So nice to hear about all these initiatives and to see.
And it has all happened in the last 4 months.
4 months, yeah. And to see, I think what is driving it is the passion.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that's what can drive something of this magnitude, and the way you've been driving it as well over the last 4 months, it's wonderful to see, and it's in front of our eyes as well, and we are sitting in the midst of it. I want to bring up one aspect, Professor. Let's look at it from this perspective also. Wonderful to have a physical space, wonderful to have this, repository of books and the kind of activities that are going on, etc. But today we are also in a digital age, and the youngsters are looking at everything, to consume on the phones and more digitally. Can we, or is there a plan to make this digital, and so that, more and more youngsters, because they are the future of Bharata. So how do we incorporate them into the scheme of things?
One, we are encouraging research scholars to be part of the library. Not everybody can easily become a member of the habitat. You need to, achieve something, reach a certain level. Only then, you become qualified to become you should have made some contribution to public life, your own domain. So a child who has just passed out of college, he or she may not pass that, But as a young researcher, we are going to open our doors for anybody who wants to utilize these facilities, so that we want to reach it out to them. The second is that all these programs that we are doing, that we will be putting it on digital mode. For example, we are recording all the programs. We are going to put many of them on our YouTube channel.
Right.
So the youngsters, it will not be confined to only those who attend the program, but also go beyond. So that is the whole idea. And of course, some reels are now being created by the young team. We have a young team at Habitat Learning Center whom we ourselves have trained. We have been a conservative organization so far as communication is concerned.
Right.
We felt that we need not, because we are a very preeminent organization. So this outreach was comparatively at a low key. But now I think that in this digital age, as you rightly put it, we cannot afford to, maintain that low profile. And when we are doing a good job, we may as well amplify that.
There's no point, staying hidden at the end of the day when such wonderful work is being done. You might as well put it out there. So
then
that
there are friends like you.
Professor, so what next really as far as Bharat Bodh Kendra is concerned? So much has been achieved in a short span of 4 months. How do you build on this momentum? Where do you take it? And what do you see for Bharat Bodh Kendra?
Well, I see this emerging as a think tank within a think tank. India Habitat Center itself is a think tank. But India Habitat Center talks mainly about sustainable development, housing,
green buildings,
environmental, green building. We are expanding the scope to Indian knowledge systems, and we are planning several activities in collaboration, because we have our limitations also. So what we are trying to do is to reach out, because we are not a purely academic institution. We have an academic aspect, but we are not a purely academic institution. And we have to generate funds ourselves for this. So what we are looking at is looking at collaborations with universities. Like I said, ICPR, we are going to have a collaboration. We are going to seek the support of the Indian Council of Social Science Research, ICSSR, to get funding for such, events. We are going into collaboration with some universities that we are planning so that we can, reach out to them. So it would be more collaboration, more conferences, more, interactions with the people who matter. The conversations are very important. We are not going to just have a workshop where only students would attend and all that. We are very clear that we are going to engage with people who are going to engage further. It would be a chain that we would be establishing. It would be more a training of trainers, a TOT, so to say, where we would be training them and they would further train. For instance, the last workshop that I mentioned, we opened it for public on the last day. As I said, we are a conservative organization, that too not for members, for select people. And within few hours, over 46 people from outside academicians enrolled for that. So we provided them e-certificates. So now Bharat Bodh Kendra is issuing e-certificate, which was unthinkable, a Habitat Library doing it. So I think that in the coming days, we are going to have more such events, reaching out to universities, reaching out to academicians. And because we have such a rich profile of eminent people as our members, we can always utilize their services to, request them to share their experiences with our, with the student community, with the youth that we are looking at.
Absolutely. That shouldn't be a challenge at all,
Yeah.
because the kind of people that are associated with the IHC.
Yes.
So I don't see that being a challenge. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that, it's all hands on deck and, everybody is doing everything to possibly push everything through, because like you
Absolutely.
said, there's no point being
We have a
hidden and
very small
being global.
team.
Yes.
But that team is good enough. They are, hyper active.
Let me go back to something that we were talking about earlier, about the Indian knowledge system, about the Bhagavad Gita, about the kind of conversations that great personalities in the past have had with each other, and how it is an integral part of our culture and our history, etc. Why is it important to be rooted and to be connected to that in today's globalized world?
Because globally also they say that, that you should think globally and act locally. So if you have to act locally, local solutions have to come from local traditions. Without understanding our local culture, our local background, our local history, if we are going to impose any solution, that is not going to work. And when I talk about IKS, I am not going to confine it to a pan-India IKS. I am looking at IKS at the district level. I am looking at IKS at what was the contribution of that particular district, that particular tehsil in the Indian knowledge system. Every community in this country has contributed to our traditions in one way or the other. So we cannot say that we will only in IKS talk about the contributions at the national level. It has to be a very democratic exercise. It has to be a very decentralized exercise. So it has to go deep down. That's important. So at the grassroots level, for example, if you're in Bengal, how can you not talk about baul music? You need to. In Karnataka, you need to talk about Yakshagana. In Kerala, you have to talk about, from Theyyam to Kathakali to, all that you need to talk about. So maybe Kathakali may not, ring a bell up north. But when you talk about IKS down south, you have to talk about that. In Kerala, you will have to talk about that. There, Ramcharis Manas may not strike a bell, may not ring a bell. So it is important that we have localized IKS, understanding of IKS. IKS is not where we talk about only the big national. Otherwise, it would become like, the way our history was written earlier. Indian history meant Mughal history. Indian history meant the slave dynasty. But a large part of the country had nothing to do with them. In fact, it was only during Aurangzeb's regime that they reached the Deccan. Prior to that, it was confined to the northern states. With very little impact down south.
Yes.
And Aurangzeb's regime also hardly, was for few years. And after that, you had the Western powers coming in. The Marathas went up to Tiruchirappalli. How many people know, like facts, interesting aspects, which the youngsters would be, that is a way of telling them. For example, this famous story, now it has of course gone viral and everybody is talking about it. For example, the South Indians are associated with sambar. There is no South Indian family where sambar is not taken. But now there is hardly any North Indian family where sambar is not eaten. Now the history of sambar had very little to do with South. It was not a South Indian cuisine at all. When Sambhaji Maharaj went and settled down, his empire extended up to Tiruchirappalli. When he went there, he wanted dal to be prepared. So they did not know how to cook dal because in South there was no culture of dal. So then the local cooks prepared dal and they dedicated it to their Maharaj, Sambhaji, and it became sambar. That is the interesting story.
Yes, absolutely.
So, how many of the people know it?
True.
There are so many stories all around us, and we should use the power of visual storytelling to tell these powerful stories. The Panchatantra, the Jataka stories, the Upanishads, you name it. There are so many stories. But how many of our people are aware of these stories?
Absolutely. Or for that matter, even the interpretation, Professor.
Yes.
Panchatantra, now if you look at the stories,
Yeah.
it's all, the interpretation is all Western interpretation,
Absolutely.
saying that, this is the moral of the
This is
story.
the moral of the story.
In Indian knowledge system, there are no morals.
Not morals.
We don't talk about morals at all. It's a Western philosophy or Western concept that has been introduced and brought into Indian scriptures or Indian literature.
Absolutely.
And how can you fathom that? I mean, these are some things that really need to change. Talking about history, we're talking about the Marathas, the British and the Mughals. We completely forgotten that the Marathas were the ones who were ruling in between the Mughals and the British.
And the British.
How many people know about that either?
Absolutely.
So few people.
Absolutely.
Or for that matter, it was Martanda Varma who drove out the Dutch East India Company away from here.
And you had the Samudri, the king of Zamarin, the king of Calicut, who actually fought the first battle against the Western powers, the Portuguese.
Yes.
King Zamarin. No, that was the first war of independence, not 1857. That was in the 1700s.
True.
When this battle was fought. So we had a continued resistance. It was not that only in 1857 we woke up to this. But they were in different pockets of the country. But it was only, we were told as if only in 1857 there was an opposition. And that too because princely states lost their, kingdom to the British. So they raised a rebellion. That is not what it was. The people have always resisted, I mean, what Ranima Gaidinliu did in Nagaland was not just opposing the British rule, the political part of it, but even the cultural and religious aspect of it. She was opposed to that.
Yes.
So there has been a history of resistance which was never perhaps documented but never told.
Absolutely. So right. There's so many stories like this that need to be re-looked at as well and, brought into the picture, brought into the limelight so that we know exactly what has happened and what has not happened.
Absolutely.
And we can be better informed as a whole.
Absolutely.
Let's take the conversation forward and bring in another aspect, Professor, because you've had an interesting journey through your life as well. And that's something that I'd like to touch upon. Starting off as a journalist, a reporter, to
hardcore field reporter.
Yes, hardcore field reporter to being an academic to then, heading big institutions, Makanlal University Vice Chancellor as well as Director General of the, yes, absolutely. And then now heading a cultural center. How has the journey been? And if you had to go back a few years and tell that young reporter something, what would you say?
Well, I have always believed in experimenting. And I have always believed in charting a new course. I'm done with after a few years because I do my level best. I do my, when I was a field reporter, I was the best in the field. I broke some of the biggest stories of the time. But once I reached that saturation point, I felt that now it is time for me to explore further. And that led me to Indian Institute of Mass Communication, which till then was a diploma institution. I played a very important role in the institute getting letter of intent status for deemed to be university. And after it got LOI, I felt that now I should work in a university. And that is when I got the opportunity to serve the Makanlal Chaturvedi University. I shifted it to 2 new campuses. And after now so many years in academics, I continue to be associated with academics. I am still an emeritus professor at APJ University and Institute of Mass Communication. But I felt that now it is time to make a contribution in a larger domain. And I felt that Habitat, instead of going to, I had the option of going to another university. Then my contribution would have been confined to either a state or a central university, one of the 1200 universities in the country. Whereas when I came to Habitat, this is the intellectual, cultural hub of the country. Here is where policymakers come. The art, the literature, the administration converge. This is the confluence, this is the sangam, so to say, of different streams of our national life. I felt that if I can contribute to this stream, I would be able to naturally influence all the 1200 universities. So instead of spending my time for dedicating my time only for one university, can I make a difference? Turn this into a think tank with which all universities are associated. Can that be the role? So I am looking at that. That's what I said, that for me, this is a role beyond administration. It's not just the 10-acre premises and the 700 odd staff. That's not my, that is of course the routine work I have to do, to ensure that everything goes smoothly, that members are taken care of. That of course is certainly there. But I have a larger goal also, that turning this into an intellectual hub which can actually, because the who is associated with it. And if we can change their perception, if we can influence their thinking, if we can interact with them on critical issues, and they are the people who will be deciding on policies, who will be implementing the policies, I felt that this is a far bigger role, so I should accept it.
Absolutely. Talking about this role, Professor, and since you're here and the kind of work that you're doing on a daily and a regular basis, and it's right here in front of us to see, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face along the way, trying to put across this noble message and to put across this noble deed to try and help everyone across the board and to help the nation build?
Absolutely. You see, one thing is that there will always be resistance to change. I've seen it in the educational institutions. There's always a resistance. That doesn't mean that they're opposing it.
Absolutely.
Because people are not always comfortable with new ideas.
With change. It's like, your website also that you go to for your news regularly. If they make a few layout changes here and there, you're upset.
Yes.
Till you get used to it.
Absolutely. I mean, forget it. The phone. The moment you update your, Android, every time there is a message and you update it, it comes with a feature which you felt that the earlier feature was better.
Correct.
Not this one.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
So, similar is the case with institutions also. So, whenever you come up with new, there will be some critics, there will be skeptics, and there will be supporters. And I think that if your intention is pure, if your intention is not to demolish, but to draw a bigger line, I think that you will succeed. If you try to erase, the problem starts there. But instead of trying to shorten, erase, reduce a line, if you can draw a bigger line without touching that line, I think that there would be more acceptance. So I'm looking at that. I'm not at all dismantling anything, but I'm only taking it a little further. I'm not removing the English books to say that you read Hindi and Indian languages. No. But along with the English books, the staple diet, I'm giving some desserts to begin with. That try this also very good. Yeah. So if you try this, maybe. Now those who have the kind of ambience we created for Onam, now everybody is saying lovely. Those who have never initiated into the Sadhya, experience this for the first time. They're saying good effort. Let's have more of such events. So you have to develop the taste. So if you are providing them, maybe they were never exposed. It's not their fault. So why are we looking at them with suspicion? That no, just because they did not have an exposure, they are opposed to any idea. No, give them exposure. So it is very important that, there is nothing like, I would say the opponents. That's what I believe. I've always believed that there are people whom you have touched, and there are people whom you are yet to touch, whom you are yet to meet, whom you are yet to reach. You have to reach out to them. So that outreach is very important.
Absolutely. And, with this so much that we can continue to talk about, Professor, but we've got limited time and, we probably leave something for a few more podcasts in the future. For instance, your role as an academic can be a one episode in itself.
Absolutely.
And, your role as a journalist as well over the years can be an episode in itself. So finally, before I let you go, any, last message that you'd like to send out, anything that you'd like to say, anything that you feel that, you've not said today and probably the viewers need to know about. We leave with the concluding thoughts.
I believe that why are we being status quoist? Why are we not questioning? We had a long history of, as I said, questioning. That why something has been taught to us for decades, so we are going to follow that. Why it was like that? Why it was not like this?
I think we have Macaulay to blame for that.
So we should explore. We should expand. We should diversify. We should not resist diversification. I think that it's for the good. I'm sure something good only will come out of it. Knowledge will never let you down. So why shun a kind of knowledge saying that no, this is not for us? It will only add value to you, your own knowledge. So I think that we should have that open-mindedness. So keep your eyes and ears open and mouth a little shut if possible.
That's going to be difficult, especially, when social media is a buzz nowadays. People can hide behind the shadow of somebody else's face or an avatar. So it becomes more easy to come out and say whatever you want to say, hiding behind a veil. So that seems like a difficult proposition, but I hope that, it happens sooner rather than later. Professor, thank you so much for joining me on Bharata First today and sharing your views about this beautiful initiative that you started, Bharat Bodh Kendra. I hope it reaches great heights and all the initiatives.
All your good wishes.
Yes, all the initiatives that you have started, I'm sure will be extremely successful and will help the nation as a whole and will provide much needed results as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, that's it in this edition of Frank Talk. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon and share the content so that more people get to know about Bharata First. Until next time, this is Frank Rausen Pereira signing off. Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Lovely show.
Thank you.